social contribution and why it matters. Our special guests today are Dinara Auyelbekova and Madi Khanafiya. In a second, I will be sharing with you the agenda for today. So it looks like this. So first of all, Dinara will present share her experience, talk about that, and then Madi's presentation, and then we have the Q&A session, and at the end, we have the results of the contest. Yeah, now I will be sharing the presentation of Dinara. Okay. Dinara, the floor is yours. Sorry, your mic is off.
Can you hear me now? Thank you for having me today. It's an honor to talk about my project and social contribution for the students of the university that I graduated several years ago. And before we start, can you please let me know if you can hear me well and if you can see me well in the chat? I'm going to do my presentation in English. Here you can see my Instagram. You can sign up and be in touch through this social media. And yeah, I decided to come to this presentation with the lens of my personal story and my personal project, so that on my example, you will hopefully understand why social contribution matters. And if you can turn on your cameras, it will be also very useful, because it's 8 a.m. now. I'm in New York City and I just woke up, so I would rather see your faces, and hope it will make me awake. So I'll start with introducing myself. Can you go to the next slide, please? As I said, I studied at Nazarbayev University. I am the first alumna of the Nazarbayev University. I graduated with Bachelor in Economics in 2015. Then I also did my master's in Nazarbayev University. I have MBA from Geneva Business School. And currently I am Obama Scholar at Columbia World Projects. This is a non-degree program at Columbia University. And I'm the first one from all the post-Soviet states to be in this program, of which I'm proud of, to represent Kazakhstan and region as a whole. This is a program for emerging leaders all over the world who do social good. And this is the first reason why you should contribute socially to the society you live in. I got here mainly because I launched a fund. It's called Girls Power Fund, and we empowering girls in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And I will share more about my organization later with the numbers, how many grants we raised and stuff like that. I also work as an international consultant in project management for nonprofits or for individuals. So anyone who wants to start a social project usually hires me, and I help them with starting the project, with finding the niche, and fundraising. Yeah, so this is about me, and now we will go deeper into my story, starting from my birth. I was born in a small village in Kazakhstan. It's called Kapal village. It's in Almaty region. And for the first 10 years of my life, we didn't have an in-house bath or toilet. I think it's like a reality for many villages in Kazakhstan. I don't know how about now, but it was very common in that time. There were electricity cutoffs in the village that I lived in, so my parents would use fridge as a bookstore. They would keep books in the fridge. And my mom would still buy us books, buy encyclopedia. I don't remember, maybe you had it also, Rosman детская encyclopedia, Словарь Ожегова, and all of these books were very present. And my mom would buy it on my dad's tiny salary, so they would fight a lot about that. And that's how I understood the value of education, because my parents did everything to provide me with good education from the early ages. Can you go to the next slide, please? That changed when I turned 10. My dad started earning good money and I could afford English courses. I went to Thomas Education. I got private tutoring in maths, preparing for YNT, and I was able to enter the best university in Central Asia. Again, I don't think anyone from my school ever entered NU. I'm not from NIS. I'm not from KTL. I'm just from an ordinary school in Almaty, which I graduated in 2010. And yeah, I was able to enter Nazarbayev University, and it really changed my life because I got the highest quality of education I could. And even now, taking classes at Columbia feels really manageable. And yeah, you guys getting good education that will bring you to any classroom in the world and you will feel comfortable. Next slide, please. But even though my parents cared a lot about education, there was no much knowledge about emotional intelligence and mental health and stuff like that. I think it became popular only a few years ago. And when I was growing up, I heard this a lot, that I'm too competitive, too outspoken, too loud, that I'm bossy, that I'm emotional, and that I'm too much. I would always argue with my teachers, with my professors. My mom would come to school to smoothen up things with them because they were annoyed with me, always complaining and always finding something that I don't like and finding things that I want to improve. So it was really hard growing up for me because I never fitted with normal standards that people expect from the girls in Kazakhstan. And that was a big problem with me because I thought that there is something wrong with me. But fortunately, I met my coach. Next slide, please. At Nazarbayev University, I started doing basketball, and our coach was an American from Kansas who flew all the way to Kazakhstan to teach communication. I don't think that there is a department of communication now, but it was a deal in in Nazarbayev University when I was studying there. And I don't know if you know, but in our basketball team has a lot of history. We were the first team at the NU that won the first place in the city championship among other universities. And my coach was the one who taught me that actually I'm not bossy and I'm just a good leader. And he saw my loudness and my competitiveness as my strengths. And he showed me how can I use that to win on and out of the court. And for the first time, I realized that there is nothing wrong with me, that I can cry. And I learned a lot of lessons for life that I'm using and teaching now that I learned playing basketball. So I highly encourage you guys to do sports at NU as well, because it helps a lot. Don't think that you don't have time for that. Yeah, so that's how I learned that education and empowerment together. Can you go to the next slide? They work wonders, and that this is a good formula for changing someone's life and making it better. And next slide, please. I also was bothered a lot on how we raise girls and boys in Kazakhstan. On the left picture, you can see the birthday that my friend went to. When the boy's birthday, at the boy's birthday, you can see there is a throne. Well, I think it's very common for all of you. Maybe you've seen it yourself. If you've seen it somewhere on some of the toys you've been, please let me know in the chat. I want to see. So there is a boy on the throne which is taken out by 4 adults, and boys are basically treated like kings from the early age in our society, and girls just have the ordinary birthday. I've never seen a girl on a throne on her birthday, and I think that tells you a lot about how people, like children of different gender, is raised in Kazakhstan. Next slide, please. I also heard a lot about domestic abuse, about rapes, about assaults in news every day on pages like Nimalchi, Badr Jamal, and etc. And I also have seen how my friends who get married are treated just like house elves. That's why I have Dobby here. And even in my family, how some people treat our killings was something that bothered me a lot, and I didn't like it. And I thought, okay, what can I do in order to stop this bad trend of when women are treated poorly? And next slide, please. Instead of trying to work with outcome of the problem, with like victims of gender-based violence or sexual assaults, I think that requires a lot of work and a lot of energy and a lot of resources. I decided to work with the root cause of the problem, and I thought, okay, if I will be able to empower girls from an early age, hopefully they will not end up in the situation like this. Yes, that's not the perfect correlation, and there are flaws in that, but I thought it might help, at least for some. Next slide, please. That's how I came up with an idea of empowering girls in STEM. I chose STEM specifically because it's more meritocratic than other fields. There is high demand for professionals in these fields, high paying jobs, so hopefully they won't end up in financial abuse. And it's opportunity for the regions and villages in Kazakhstan to work remotely, and we mainly work with regions. We work in Taras, in Zhezkazgan, in Shymkent, where else? And other regions of Kazakhstan. Satpayev. Yeah, that's it. Next slide, please. So my favorite program is Arduino. Do you guys know what's Arduino? Why no one is texting in the chat? Are you guys all sleepy as well? I know it's Sunday, 7 p.m. and you'd rather be preparing for the next week. So we created these packages with all the, oh, someone know what is Arduino? Okay, I'm gonna explain. Arduino is like a basic platform, basic kit for the robotics. So you have these parts like LED lights, you have all of the conductors, all of this. I don't know. I'm not STEM. I graduated from economics, so I don't know how exactly it works. And it connects to the computer, and then you can program the lights to go in a certain order, or you can program the loudspeakers to shout when you press the button. So you can build a project based on the Arduino. If someone can explain better in the chat, please do so. But if not, you can Google. We created these packages and we send it out to all the participants in the region. And they were learning it online with our teacher, and they created project based on the Arduino platforms that they received from us. Next, please. So our overall results, we raised 40,000 US dollars in 1 year in grants for different programs. And we partnered with UNDP Kazakhstan, with Eurasia Foundation, with US Embassy in Kazakhstan, with Nazarbayev University Alumni Foundation. We have 700 participants and 100 participants in our alumni network. And I'm very proud that our Instagram is very growing very fast organically and has more than 3,000 followers. Next slide, please. Now I want to talk about why social contribution actually matters based on my personal experience. Well, first, it gives you the satisfaction because you are doing a social good. And I know there is a research showing that volunteering or doing philanthropic work or donating money makes you happier and makes you more fulfilled. And more businesses care about ESGs. ESG is environment, environment, what social and governance, and it will be more important in the future. So I learned this in the US. I never heard about it in Kazakhstan. Many companies now are creating the corporate social responsibility unit. Even if you are a big business, you have to show that you are doing social good, because otherwise you will have less investors and less people who will buy your products. So this is becoming a trend in countries like in the Western, I don't know how to say it correctly, in North Global or developed countries. But I think it will be soon trend in Kazakhstan as well, that people won't invest in you if you're using slave labor in somewhere in China or in Vietnam, or if you don't treat your employees properly, or if you're not doing social good, if you're not taking care about environment. People will stop buying your products and they will not invest in your company or buy your stocks. So if you're considering career in social sphere, you might think about this sphere too. It's also a safe space where you can develop your skills. So it was very scary for me to start a business. That's why I started a nonprofit first, because I could learn to do things at the expense of grants. And it gives you a lot of opportunities, like traveling abroad and attending different conferences, especially when you're a student. I've been to a lot of different places. I went to World Forum for Democracy in Strasbourg. It was even before I opened my fund. I'm here in New York for a year also because I opened my fund and I'm doing social impact. So it gives you a lot of opportunities and it gives you freedom in case you launch your own project. And to be honest, guys, I advise it to everyone to start your own project while you're at university, because I know now you think, oh, I have all this finance, I have all of this stuff going on at school. Believe me, when you graduate and when you start working, there will be much less time to do this kind of stuff, and take advantage of your flexible schedule, of the fact that you don't have to work yet. So I would totally recommend everyone to start the project, because you learn a lot. I learned more than at school, or I learned more than at uni, or I learned more than at my any work for the last couple of years when I started my own thing. So please, social good is, yeah, that's a good project. Yeah, a company doesn't do anything illegal, bad, like animal testing. And social good is very broad. It can involve a lot of things, and it doesn't have to be charity, or it doesn't have to be free. It's when you fix a problem that government or corporations don't fix. So you see a problem, like it can be a project in educational inequality. It can be a project on gender empowerment, on environment. So if you work with white males from big cities, you're probably not doing social good. It has to be, you have to be working with underserved populations, and you have to identify. It can be a project in promoting rights of minorities, like LGBTQ or any oppressed local small minorities. I mean, small in population. And it can be project in environment, or in what else? Yeah, so it's very broad, I know, but if you can tell me of an example of what you're going to do, I'm going to tell you if it's social or not. And yes, there is agenda, and there are some projects that are hot, like актуальные на повестке, and some projects are not that hot for people, but they're still important. Rights of migrants, human trafficking, people working with people who've been in human trafficking, mental health, it's all considered social. So anything that where you see the problem and it's not solved by the government, I would say, I would phrase it like that. Yeah, so I think that this is it. If you have, I think what Q&A session is after the second presentation. Okay, so I'm gonna end it here.
Yeah, thank you, Dinara, for your presentation. Now I will be switching to the presentation of Madi. Madi, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Diana and Smart and student government for inviting. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Dinara, thank you for your interesting experience and presentation. I will talk about social contribution from my own experience that I would say that it really helped me to grow in personal professional way uh, because as you know you students studying and exploring all these theories in your majors, you usually lack this kind of uh, field experience, communicating with people, with experts, with many good companies, and so I would say that my social activity, and I would say it mostly contains my volunteering experience during my studies at university and after graduation. So I would talk briefly uh, about myself, kind of problems we have in society, explain who is volunteer and how probably I would understand the social good, my understanding of this contribution to environment, to our society, and also I would briefly mention in the principles that I um, learned during my this journey participating in different social projects, and also I would mention the opportunities and probably my example of partnership opportunities and my uh, examples from my life would help you to understand and maybe would also inspire you to participate and be volunteer and contribute a lot in different social activities. Yes. Next slide, please. Mhm. Yeah, I've graduated Nazarbayev University in 2019 as a bachelor in political science and international relations, and also studied masters in public policy at our school, graduate school of public policy. Yeah, but my studying when I applied to masters, I had this great experience in working with NGOs, but participating in different projects. So first thing that I would highlight, probably if you are thinking about doing graduate studies, and probably you are thinking about your future profession, your future career. I had so many cases when my social volunteering experience was a good advantage during these kind of interviews, and it gave me some kind of competitive advantage that I not only studied and developed as a specialist, but also kind of I was able to also apply my theories in practice in like during my internship and participating in different projects that I would explain in later. And also I would say that this kind of my journey in social contribution, in social projects, really defined my kind of workplaces that I ended after during my studies, when I worked as a part-time manager, and also after studies, my career directly was kind of the result of my past experience in different volunteering projects. So yeah, during my studies, I was a president of a New Red Crescent Society, as you might know. It's kind of large student clubs that helps that organize different charity and social events, projects, including uh, yeah, developing like attracting donors, training in first aid, um, helping children from low-income families and children and people with disabilities, fundraising, and so on. Yeah, and also I had an experience, and I'm still participating in the project Genus, which is a project of providing help for World War veterans in Astana. But this project is yeah, is still um, going across the country because um, yeah, as you know, we have many World War II veterans who still need support and just our attention. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. Mm. I would say the problems that we face and in our life, as you know, yeah, so many social problems related to a violation of our basic human rights, inequality, discrimination, also and inequality in education. We have poverty, unemployment, and so on. Many people still believe that these kind of problems are only the responsibility of the government. The government that should solve these problems, that should help people, and this kind of different grants, financial resources should be spent to organize this, to solve this. But you, as you know, that government has this lack of limited resources, and sometimes they might. I mean, in society, we usually do not know so many things because we live in our information bubbles. And as I understood, every person, every citizen could contribute, could help by starting in its yeah, in its small surroundings, by paying attention to what is going on with your peers, with your family, society, neighborhood, so on. And there are so many good examples when people unite. You probably heard about it. People unite and solve their own problems without waiting for this government budget allocation and attention, and without kind of begging someone to help, to support. So many things can be done by ourselves, and this is not only about money, I would say. I mean, and the good thing of social good and volunteering, yes, and contribution to social projects is in many cases it is just time and energy of people who are not who want to help, and like each of us. Okay, next slide, please. So I learned that being volunteer is good for becoming volunteer is beneficial, is beneficial for the person because it contributes to this kind of to your proactive life position. You would understand that any troubles and obstacles that you face can be solved by you or by people who can support you, like-minded people who see this same problem in our society. For example, Dinara provided different cases when we see like our perceptions and our attitudes towards gender equality is different, and there are so many things that, for example, we as a young generation, we don't understand or we don't want to continue to develop this trend because we see that it brings many problems, and it also economically, politically, socially creates this gap in society, whether it's social gap, economic gap, and so on. So I understood that if more people become volunteers, I mean, they would dedicate themselves, with no and so добровольно, they people decide for themselves that they can be creators of their own destiny. As you know, many things for example, at this point, you know that hard work pays off. You study now in a great university, and it was not by luck or something, or I know by help of someone who helped you to enter or paid for your education. But it's your hard work, your dedication that to the to knowledge, to education. So when you understand that you can change many things, and also if you do not wait for some rewards for that, you just do it because now you understand that this would contribute to the better good, to the social good. So I think this would really, if you'll try, or maybe you had this experience, then from that point when I became and realized that being volunteer is such a great such a great opportunity from many sides, I started practicing a lot. Apart from my education, I did it first out of curiosity, and then also I participated in some projects because it was related to my major, and just as a snowball, I was in this kind of and I still in this network of people who care about what is going on in our society, and I see the results of our work that we've done since kind of the start of the project, different project. And I will just show you the examples. Next slide, please. Yeah, for example, social contribution. Initially, I would say that we think that it is all about giving, but from this point, from my experience, I would say that this is really mostly about not only giving something, but you realize a lot by yourself, and you gain a lot. For example, when I participated in the project, we had this project, weekend school, for example, a Hello Owl project and a mentorship program. It's about educational project providing free lessons for social vulnerable category for children from low income families, or for example, for children with disabilities. I thought that it would be difficult, but I mean, in terms of, I hadn't an experience of teaching and being tutor and so on. But during this process, when I helped children many times, I just dedicate my time, from a couple of hours in a week. I realized that by teaching someone, yes, and helping, I learn a lot. I mean, I prepare for lessons and I grow as a professional. I mean, as a specialist in this sphere that will affect my personal kind of development and so on. So basically, by teaching, I learned a lot, remember a lot, and I then later used this kind of skills that I was thinking I was providing some good social volunteering kind of help. I would then use these skills that I mastered during this free lesson to become, for example, expert in my areas. And also I had opportunity to become, for example, part-time tutor later. So so it kind of win-win. I helped, taught children, and later I saw that this experience made me a good tutor. And I, during my student life, I had some kind of additional side hustle by being tutor for in and had some income. So you see that doing social good, doing this contribution to social project, I never thought that I would gain some material thing, but it led to this, and it was really helpful from this point of view. And skills I gained, I used then later being a trainer, for example, for observers and for observers of elections and many things that led after that. It helped me to become a speaker, to become an expert, and just being open to educate others. Because yeah, so it showed me that I can learn a lot by giving. Second, I had great experience of networking. So many volunteer projects that we done, like organizing charity events, for example, with student clubs and different companies. For example, we had ball charity fairs and many things. It helped me to kind of find many people in different spheres, and later these contacts helped me a lot. You know, this connection. I mean, this power of uh, power of bonds. Yes, weak bonds. So you meet people, and later you suddenly when you're looking for example, some after graduation, I was looking for job. I met so many people that I worked in the past during these social projects. For example, they donated some money for our charity, or maybe they found people, volunteers who helped us. And all these like-minded people, they usually worked in these companies in the spheres that I was interested in, and later they became my employers, and they provided some ideas, vacancies, jobs where I can find. So this networking that I gained during my volunteering and social contribution helped me, for example, to find my first job as a project manager in one of the NGOs. Yeah, so you see that from volunteer, I later connected with people, and also they provided some opportunities. So when you are thinking about a job search, I would say that, for example, just browsing Headhunter and LinkedIn is good, but it is very time consuming, and you know that by applying to, like, I don't know, 100 positions, you may have, I don't know, the percentage of this response from them is very low, like 5, 6 maybe interviews, or headhunters will invite you for the interview. But when you have this uh, experiences of connecting with people, networking, working in different projects, in different volunteering activities, and many companies have this social corporate responsibility to provide donation and so on. They would look at you as a not only just a good professional and specialist, but they would remember you. And for example, these kind of things would only be a good plus for your resume, for your CV, and also it would be a great story to show that you are not only interested in doing, I know, earn money, but you also an active, responsible citizen, and you had this experience and great connection of people who change a lot. And by projects that I'm talking about the projects, not only this kind of uh, one-time volunteering events, but I'm talking about many different sustainable long-term projects that are really changing our different spheres in our country. And as you know, as a developing country, we have so many empty spaces, empty and not developed social entrepreneurship projects, or we have so many things that our government cannot manage to do. So citizens and we can really find these kind of gaps and fill them. Yeah. Next point that I would like to mention is about political change. As a political scientist and public policy analyst, for me, it was important, for example, not just um, researching different theories and writing research projects, but also I would like to, for example, see some kind of contributions that I make um in professional sphere. And my volunteering experience also in the past helped me to connect to these NGOs, which are working in the human rights sphere, human rights, and also observing elections sphere. And it was a great opportunity because when you study political science and or economics in class, it's usually about some many things that about different countries, comparative analysis of them, but you usually cannot understand how it works in your society, in your country. And when you see, for example, as a volunteer, I participated in being an observer of elections in 2019, 2021 parliamentary referendum, and different this kind of trainings that I had, I saw that being an active citizen matters in terms that we think that political situation in our country kind of I mean, many people are apolitical. They do not want to participate in politics because they think that it is useless. We cannot change something. But you know that in our country, many things are surrounding by this government laws, projects. And if government sort of pays attention to some kind of problems, it would be easier for you as a citizen to, for example, solve these social problems that government also paid attention. And this was the case in 2016, for example, when we observed different polling stations, voting stations in our country, we saw that there was not access for people with disabilities. So, I mean, there was not kind of doors or this kind of stairs were not equipped with the equipment for people with disabilities, and we gathered all this information, and we filed this kind of problem to the local government agencies, I mean akimats and different institutions. And in the next elections, during this period from 2016 to 2019, in 3 years, there was a law project developed about equipping all these polling stations with equipment for people with disabilities. And in elections 2019, we've seen this progress, that our work that we done, it led to this more access for people with disabilities to government, at least government buildings. And also, I would say that, for example, more and more activism, for example, being a volunteer in different these projects like observation, election observation, or just going to peaceful gatherings, yes, so-called meetings in our country, we see that more and more voices are heard by the government, and any kind of we are afraid of this kind of doing some kind of things that we think that we would be kind of we will become criminals, political criminals, because we're going to gatherings, meetings, protests are bad, but it is just it was like our old generations I know heritage that to participate in the politics. But from my experience, by participating and by doing this kind of activism, more and more yes, protection of human rights can be seen, more and more laws that are talking about equality between men and women. Also, we see so many great projects and NGO, non-governmental organizations, that are talking about equality or protection of rights of minorities that are emerging in our country and in Central Asia. And you see that these kind of things, these are small steps, small changes that for us can be slightly noticeable, but for the future, it would be stepping stones for great democracy, great society with this developed instruments for all citizens. And more projects are gaining attention, and more and more problems are solved due to these small steps that every citizen take. So, yeah, and in terms of self-development, extracurricular activities, I would say that I changed a lot by just educating, meeting people, talking to activists and experts in different spheres, and I understood my practical application of my major, for example, because not just being researcher, but also how to become a social activist and political activist, so that some policies that are not that are harmful for our society can be prevented, or maybe in case of for example, we are living in Astana, you see that, for example, some ecological problems that that we have. Yeah, there are problems, for example, with buildings and is in the part of like so many buildings and many natural inhabitants are destroyed, for example, by a Akimato, by a government. And sometimes, and we had this project, for example, Bozjera or Kokjelao, for example, in Astana, we had this social decor. And by participating in this project, we prevented, for example, from destroying natural habitats and doing harmful things for our nature. And this was in the hands of people, in the activists, not only activists, but also all these followers who read, reposted, and did some donations. So you see that many spheres develop skills, contributes to your self-development and professional development, and also, for example, extracurricular activities. By doing different volunteering projects, I had an opportunity to travel to Georgia to meet NGOs there and have their experience of building civil society and using their best practices. We also had this kind of trainings and observations in our elections. And I went, for example, to Kyrgyzstan to participate in hackathon and develop some application about developing legal literacy in society, and educational project in legal literacy. So traveling, meeting new people, it all changed your life, your mindset, and you'd see that you will understand that everything in your hands, and you can not only change your life, but life of people around you and your society. I would wrap it up. I guess too many. We are running out of time. Thank you. Just skip other slides and probably we can move to Q&A session.
Yes, thank you, Dinara, Madi, for your informative and useful presentations. So we hope that it was also interesting for our students. So let's move to the next part of our session, to Q&A session. So if you have any questions to our speakers, so feel free to write them in the chat, or you can ask them by raising your hands. In the chat, I can see question from Alua. What is social good exactly, and what are the principles, rules of socially good project? That imply that if a company does not do anything illegal and bad, like animal testing. So, Nara, Madi?
I think I tried to answer this question before when I was ending presentation, what is social good? And I think Madi then covered it. This question was before Madi's presentation, so Alua, please let us know if now it's clear.
Okay, so we have also other questions from our students. And there's a question from Arujan. What difficulties do you personally face when creating a social fund or organization in Kazakhstan?
The main difficulty for me was fundraising.
Can you repeat the question, please?
So I can write it
the
in the
chat.
chat. So yes.
Yeah, so fundraising is for many nonprofits is the main problem because you always have to write proposals and you always have to find money. It was easy in the beginning, but then it became harder. and harder.
I guess just the absence to the availability. For example, yeah, can I answer the question? Like in Kazakhstan, we have two active cities, which are Astana and Almaty, and in other cities we have less opportunities.
Yeah, so coming back to the question about difficulties when creating social fund is, as I said, fundraising. That is why I encourage you to start social venture. I don't like this notions that if you're doing social impact, it has to be for free, or if you're earning money, it's not good enough. And that's why many people don't go into the social sphere. However, there is now so much opportunities. Like my friend, she started a social venture in Philippines. There is other way. There is other way. When you're trying to do social good, but you volunteer and you struggle for money. There is a third way when